The new PvP event is here, and boy, I think this one is going to cause a stir amongst the player base. Do not play the PvP event before watching this video because I've got some useful tips and tricks to help you get through the event and maximize your rewards. I'll also share the best performing decks at the moment if you want to be sweaty and win all the rewards from the event. The last PvP event was pretty straightforward, just get 45 wins in total and you get the gold emblem. We didn't get punished for losing at all, and as long as we played enough games, it was pretty easy to get all the emblems and rewards. This time around, it won't be so easy. In order to get the highest reward, we'll need to win 5 battles in a row. And in a game like Pokemon Pocket, where coin flips decide almost every single game, starting from the coin flip to decide who goes first, this mission seems kinda crazy to me. I've mentioned this before, but I don't actually consider Pokemon Pocket a very competitive game. I mean, I treat it as a competitive game because I am a very competitive person by nature. But there's just so much luck involved in Pocket, from whether you got first or second, the way you draw your cards, whether you're facing a deck that counts as yours, and even if you deal damage or not. So much relies on chance and luck that I don't think it will be easy to complete this mission, even with the best of decks. I will be showing you the currently best performing decks in tournaments, and you can take your pick of which ones you want to try out. The event runs from 6 AM GMT 9th of December to 6 AM GMT 16th of December, so you have a whole week to try and complete all the missions. Thankfully, finishing the hardest event mission simply gives you an emblem and nothing else. Of course, I'll still try just for the bragging rights and to show off on my profile, but if I don't manage to do it, I won't lose any sleep over it. I probably will, to be honest, but it's okay. The best rewards from this event are actually obtained through simply participating in PvP battles. And by the best rewards, I of course mean those coveted Pack Hourglasses. As long as you participate in 10 PvP battles, you will be able to earn 24 Pack Hourglasses, enough for 2 booster packs. And note the wording here, we just need to participate, not win. So if you're low on time or just don't like battling in general, you can just concede 10 games in a row and get your Pack Hourglasses just like that. There are a few other side missions that reward Shine Dust, currently only used to get flares on your cards, but I've heard people speculate that they might be used as a trading currency. To get all the Shine Dust rewards, you simply need to win 15 PvP battles, and they don't have to be won continuously like with the main mission. Again, very doable as long as you have the time and patience to do it. Okay, now let's go over the decks I would recommend for this event. Personally, I would avoid coin flip heavy decks like Marowak EX because they're just not consistent enough. Yes, sometimes you'll be able to deal 160 damage to a Mewtwo or Pikachu EX, but can you deal 160 damage consistently for 5 games straight? If you can, maybe you should go with the Marowak EX deck because it'll be great against both Pikachu EX and Mewtwo EX decks. I'm super interested to see how the PvP method develops during this event, but at the start, I'm expecting to see a lot of Pikachu EX. If you want to use a Pikachu EX deck yourself, this is the one I would go for. Reddit user OA analyzed 5,378 Pikachu EX decks across 30,743 registered matches and found that this version of the deck performed best by far. And after trying out myself, I have to agree. I like that with this Raichu version of the deck, our energy doesn't get wasted. The energy redistribution into Raichu with the help of Surge means that even if we have to retreat a Pikachu EX or another Pokemon with energy attached to it to the bench, the energy does not get wasted. What I find particularly interesting about this deck is the inclusion of a Pincurchin. The study revealed that including a Pincurchin in your Pikachu EX deck made it better and more consistent. It makes sense to me. It's a basic Pokemon you can use to fill up your bench. You can also try to make use of its abilities to store a little bit, and it can serve as a great Sabrina bait as well. When it comes to trainer cards, the must-haves are 2 Oaks, 2 Pokeballs, and 2 X-Speeds. The inclusion of 2 X-Speeds is very important in this deck. We don't want to waste energy retreating our Pokemon because that's the energy that can be used to charge up our Raichu. Finally, the deck performs better with the single Surge instead of double Surge. It does make sense if you think about it because a lot of the time Surge into Raichu will be your final finishing move. Raichu discarding all the energy after using its attack makes it a very risky play early on, unless you are taking out an EX Pokemon with it. This deck currently has the 2nd highest win rate on the Limitless website. That's the website where pretty much all the Pokemon Pocket tournaments are run. The win rate is 53.96%, so it's probably one of the best decks to try and finish the event with. The fact is, this deck is so good because it's hard to break with it since since you don't need to evolve your Pikachu EX or any of your bench Pokemon to start hitting hard. But what if you don't have Pikachu EX, or if you want a reliable way of countering Pikachu EX? Your instinct might go to a fighting deck, but like we mentioned earlier, the hardest hitting fighting Pokemon, Marowak EX, is just too unreliable. You can go with the Machamp EX, but as it's a stage 2 Pokemon, you find it hard to get it set up and online in time. And there is no way to ramp energy with fighting decks either. Currently, the best way to counter Pikachu EX is actually with an Arcanine EX deck. This version of the deck also runs Charizard EX and Moltres EX. Yes, it's a very expensive deck, but it has a positive win rate against both Pikachu EX, Raichu Edition, and Mewtwo EX Gardevoir decks. This deck is the only archetype, not counting Pikachu EX and Mewtwo EX, with confirmed positive win rates at high levels of play. Arcanine EX can easily take care of Pikachu EX with its 120 attack, and you can get it online very quickly with Moltres EX. And Charizard EX can actually one-shot anything if you get him online, taking care of Mewtwo EX, Venusaur EX, or anything in between. If you go second and get lucky enough with your Moltres EX coin flips and your card draws, you can start dealing 200 damage on turn 6, which is absolutely bonkers. Honestly, Moltres EX might be the best energy ramp card in the game. It feels a lot more consistent than Misty to me, and you usually get at least 1 extra energy with it. This deck is not super flexible when it comes to trainer cards, since it runs 11 Pokemon. The must-have trainer cards here are 2 Oaks, 2 Pokeballs, and 2 XP. Tournament version of this deck runs red card, but without the open decklist format on ladder, it's harder for us to utilize it efficiently. So I would suggest replacing red card with second Sabrina or Giovanni, or if you want, you can add a second Growlithe. I do understand that with 6 EX cards in this deck, most players probably won't be able to build it, but don't worry, the highest win rate deck at the moment counters fire decks really well, and it only has 2 EX Pokemon in it, Articuno EX. The Greninja line is nice since most people were able to get Greninja for free from the Venusaur event, and being able to deal 20 damage to any of your opponent's Pokemon from the bench without any energy attached to it just feels amazing. Yes, I did say earlier that maybe we should try to avoid coin flip decks, but Misty barely counts as that in my head. There's almost no downside to playing her except maybe not being able to play other supporter cards on that turn, and at worst she gives you nothing. But like I mentioned in the latest podcast episode, just a single heads flip with Misty can more than double your win rate. I do think that this deck's high win rate currently is due to the tournament meta developing very rapidly. Last week, Charizard and Arcanine EX deck won the biggest Pocket tournament, so everyone rushed to play it, making Pikachu EX and Mewtwo EX decks less popular. And this deck eats fire decks for breakfast, while not performing super well against Mewtwo EX or Pikachu EX decks. It actually has a 73.5% win rate against the Charizard Arcanine deck we showed earlier, so you just need to adapt to the meta quickly during the event. There is no deck that can beat everything consistently, so keep an eye out on the meta, and if you see a lot of a certain type of deck, switch quickly. Speaking of water decks, I can't not mention Starmie EX. I honestly think Starmie EX is one of the best Pokemon in the game, and if it weren't for the popularity and strength of Pikachu EX, Starmie would be the real star of Pokemon Pocket. I found a super interesting Starmie EX deck on Limitless. It's currently the deck with the 3rd highest win rate, which doesn't surprise me at all. Starmie EX can get online very quickly and for only 2 energy. The only thing holding it back is that you actually do need to draw both Staryu and Starmie EX, and that it's weak to Pikachu. But against almost any other deck, Starmie EX is an absolute beast. I just had a look through the best and worst matchups for this deck, and it pretty much has a positive win rate against anything that's not Pikachu EX or Mewtwo EX. Golduck is an underrated water Pokemon in my opinion. Psyduck can really mess up your opponent's plans with its ability, not letting them play out their Misty or Professor's Research. Golduck itself deals decent damage for cheap, and he can also be sacrificed if needed since he's not an EX Pokemon. My favorite addition to this deck is actually Old Amber and Aerodactyl. You guys know I absolutely adore Aerodactyl, who can act as a Hail Mary card in many cases, a last resort if you may. There's no better feeling than blowing your opponent's fully charged up Charizard back into their deck. And Old Amber is pretty good to have on a bench because it can be used as good Sabrina bait to protect your other Pokemon. Remember, if you discard the fossil from your active spot yourself, or from the bench, it doesn't actually give your opponent a prize point. If they KO it with their Pokemon, then it does count as a prize point for them. Finally, if you just want to play Mewtwo EX Gardevoir, this is the best version of the deck. The inclusion of Baby Mewtwo into the deck has really elevated it to another level. Mewtwo EX decks have traditionally been weak to Pikachu EX because of Pikachu's ability to get online faster. Having a Baby Mewtwo as a shield while you pump your Mewtwo EX on the bench or as a Sabrina bait actually brought this deck's win rate against Pikachu deck to the positives. And of course, sacrificing a Baby Mewtwo only loses you 1 prize point, and if that's the price we have to pay to get our Mewtwo EX and Gardevoir online, it is a very good deal indeed. For trainer cards, this deck actually performed its best with 2 Oaks, 2 Pokeballs, 2 X-Speeds, 2 Potions, and 2 Sabrinas. The tournament version of this deck also runs Red card, but like we mentioned earlier, ladder is different to tournament, so it's up to you if you want to play Red card or not. The deck's win rate was highest with 2 Potions, which is kind of surprising to me. Very few decks require 2 Potions to perform their best, but I guess being able to stall long enough to get your Mewtwo EX charged up and your Gardevoir online often makes the difference between winning and losing. And finally, this deck performed similarly with 1 Sabrina versus 2 Sabrinas, so if you want, you can cut the 1 Sabrina out for something else. So yeah, these are the decks I recommend playing during the event if you want to be super sweaty about it. I know I will be sweating hard during the event, and if I manage to get the highest reward, I will share the deck I used with you guys. But remember, if you don't care about the emblems and only want the Pack Hourglasses, all you need to do is participate in 10 PvP games. I'm pretty sure conceding games will count towards this mission, but if it doesn't, you can come back and shout at me in the comments. Good luck in the event, and if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye! Okay.